Jake was cornered, 5 hyenas circling, blood on their teeth, and no way out. Then, from the shadows, his brother Cole exploded into the pack like a living weapon, teeth bared, eyes wild. But as they fought, one hyena met Cole's gaze and didn't attack. It just stared. But what happened next will shock even those who thought they'd seen everything. But first, let's go back to the beginning. The sun hung low, casting a fiery glow across the endless plains of the savannah, where every shadow meant a threat, and every rustle could signal danger. Cole's sharp eyes scanned the horizon with a tension that tightened his chest. He could feel the air thickening with dread. Jake had always been the more daring one, eager to test his limits, often ignoring the subtle warnings etched into the landscape by those who had learned to survive its unforgiving rules. But now, that fearless streak had led him too far, and the hyenas were closing in. The pack was no ordinary threat. They were merciless scavengers, their snarls echoing like death itself, fueled not just by hunger, but by years of bitter rivalry with the cheetahs. Cole knew their tactics well. They hunted in packs, overwhelming their prey with sheer numbers and cruelty, preying on weakness without remorse. Every moment Jake stayed within their reach was a gamble with fate, and Cole's instincts screamed to act before it was too late. In that moment, the bond between the brothers crystallized into something fierce and unbreakable. Cole remembered every day they had spent growing up side by side, how Jake's quick laughter had once cut through the silence of danger, how they had shared scraps under the watchful gaze of their mother, how survival had been a constant challenge they met together. Jake was not just a brother, he was the echo of their shared struggle, the embodiment of a future Cole refused to lose. His muscles coiled, ready to burst into motion. Fear was a luxury he couldn't afford. It would only slow him down. The pounding rhythm of his heartbeat synced with the wind, carrying the scents of sweat, dust, and danger straight to his nostrils. Every breath burned with the fire of determination. Cole's mind raced, strategizing, calculating the narrow window of time before the hyena's jaws closed in. In that vast, brutal wilderness, where death was always lurking just beyond the next tree or tuft of grass, Cole's decision was clear. He would face the odds alone if he had to. The line between predator and protector blurred into a single, burning purpose. Jake's life depended on it. No pack of hyenas would tear them apart, not while Cole still drew breath. The night crackled with tension, the tall savanna grasses whispering under Cole's thundering stride. He tore through the brush like a storm unleashed, his lean muscles propelling him faster than fear could take hold. The moment he broke the clearing, his eyes locked on Jake, pinned in a half-circle of snarling hyenas, their yellow eyes flickering with malice, their laughter sharp and guttural. But there was something colder than hunger in their posture. This was a reckoning, a statement, a warning. The brothers had dared to thrive where others had perished, and now the pack meant to remind them who owned this land. Cole didn't wait. With a roar that split the silence like lightning, he hurled himself into the chaos, a blur of claws, fangs, and fury. The hyenas met him with savage coordination. One lunged for his flank, another snapped at his hind legs, while 2 more tried to flank him. But Cole was a creature forged by hardship. Every scar on his body was a lesson. Every muscle, a memory of what it had taken to protect Jake all these years. He fought with a primal violence that shocked even the hyenas. But this wasn't mindless rage, it was surgical. Every swipe of his paw, every pivot of his body was sharpened by years of fighting to survive in a world that gave nothing and took everything. The scent of blood mixed with dust, and the air grew thick with snarls and screeches. For every hyena he struck down, another closed in, and their numbers began to weigh on him, dragging him into a deadly rhythm. Just as Cole's legs faltered and his vision blurred at the edges, Jake exploded into motion. Small, fast, and underestimated, he zipped between snapping jaws, his lithe body slipping past danger with uncanny precision. Then, with a series of sudden, darting feints, he led half the pack toward the jagged ravine nearby. It was a calculated risk, And it worked. The hyenas' coordination fractured, their advantage undone by the very terrain they claimed to dominate. But amidst the blood and breathlessness, something shifted. One hyena, limping and bloodied from the fight, met Cole's eyes not with rage, but something eerily human. Grief. Its growl faltered. There was no triumph in its face, only the hollow glare of something broken, something forced to kill just to stay alive. And in that second, something curdled inside Cole. Not sympathy, not mercy, but a deeper fury. This world wasn't just cruel. It was designed to make enemies out of survivors, designed to pit brother against brother, predator against predator, until nothing remained but ghosts and scars. Cole wasn't just fighting the hyenas now, he was fighting the very rules of the land itself. The dawn came not with triumph, but with silence, thick and mournful, the kind of silence that follows catastrophe, when even the wind seems too burdened to move. Cole's body ached beneath the weight of Jake, whose shallow breaths fogged against his brother's flank. The younger cheetah was alive, but barely, and each step Cole took across the coarse terrain etched another line of exhaustion into his soul. His paws were raw, his ribs stung with every breath, but the pain was distant, insignificant next to the storm churning in his chest. There was no joy in their survival, only the gnawing echo of what it had cost. They reached a grove, a rare sanctuary where the tall grasses thinned into soft earth and acacia branches filtered the morning sun. Cole laid Jake down gently, the younger cheetah groaning as blood from a shallow gash stained the soil. It should have felt like victory. It didn't. Cole stood over him, silent, listening to the beat of his brother's fragile pulse. He was safe. For now. But Cole's thoughts drifted elsewhere, to the hyena, limping away from the carnage, its gaze tethered to his own like a chain. That look had cut deeper than any claw. It wasn't vengeance. It wasn't even fear. It was recognition. A mirror. Two predators, both products of the same merciless world, both bleeding under the same sun. And in that moment, Cole had seen the truth. Survival didn't make you strong. It just made you harder, more alone, more willing to hurt before being hurt. Jake had fought with courage, yes, but that courage had nearly shattered everything. The price of that bravery now lay on Cole's shoulders like a mantle of thorns. He'd kept his brother alive, but in doing so he'd fed the very cycle he wanted to escape. Blood for blood, fear for fear. It was a rhythm as old as the savannah, and it demanded more than strength to break. It demanded sacrifice, real sacrifice, the kind that left a mark not on the body, but on the soul. Cole lowered himself beside Jake and stared at the rising sun. Its golden light swept across the plains, touching every broken leaf, every bloodied trail, with equal indifference. Nature didn't care about justice. It only cared about balance, and something deep in Cole, something ancient and wordless, knew that balance wouldn't come through more fighting. No, it would come through something far harder. A choice. One he wasn't sure he had the strength to make, but he would try. Because Jake was still breathing, and as long as his brother lived, Cole refused to let the world decide their fate.